This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to a fourth straight victorious edition of the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. Been a lot more active over there lately. And this one, we're going to talk about how the Rays really just used their first inning, and that's all the runs they needed. And this one, only one hit after the first inning, only two base runners after the first inning. We're going to talk about Boz's big bounce back and how it was much needed for this Rays rotation and just for this team in general. We're going to talk about another 3-1 win and specifically what the Rays did well. And we're going to talk about how the bullpen cleaned up. But first, we're going to talk about a certain player that has taken advantage of his days off.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's Junior Caminero. A few days ago, Kevin Gash sat him down, and it wasn't a benching, but he gave him a day off before the off day, and then he gave him the off day to kind of reset things and get things going. And ever since then, these last two games, Junior Caminero's had fantastic at-bats. And obviously today, he had the huge 3-run home run, which put the Rays up, and it ended up being the only one the Rays needed. And we talked about the Rays offense being like this at times, and now it's being like this in games. And today, the Rays offense was like this, and then straight like this, and basically flatlined. Only one hit after the first inning, only one other base runner. That was a Meisner walk. But when you get a pitching performance like you did from Shane Baz, that's really all you need. But the story in this one was Junior. And since Junior has kind of really locked back in, and, it's tough to criticize anyone that's, a young player like this, because you're going to have ups and downs in a season. And Junior is only 21, 22 years old. So I don't freak out when he goes in like a 1-for-16 stretch. But what makes Kevin Cash great is he knows how to manage this. And he managed it perfectly. And now all of a sudden Junior is back and hitting the ball hard, which is what he does. And, the Rays did get robbed a little bit. Yandy should have had a home run, and the wind kind of took it down. They showed on the broadcast was like negative 51 feet to right field, and the wind was crazy today. But, at the end of the day, each team's playing the same ballpark. And, I don't think even affected the Blue Jays that much, the win, because that'll let us transition to Shane Baz, because he was so very good. And that's what we'll get to our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
And it's Shane Baz. And no one needed a reset on this entire roster more than Shane Baz. And that includes Junior Caminero. So let me give you Shane Baz's kind of game log coming into this game. It's 5 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 6 earned runs, 7 earned runs. He's given up 21 runs in the month of May. That's almost a 10 ERA. And when does he come out today? He was just fantastic. He went 5 2/3, only struck out 4, walked 3, which was a little bit concerning, but only 4 hits and only had the 1 home run to Vladdy. So, when you have the home runs, you want them with no one on base. So that was what, was the case with this one. So, look, Shane Baz, I said it before, a few guys disagreed with me. I think his stuff is the best on this Rays team. Like, I think if there's one pitcher that's locked in with all 3-4 of his pitches and they're all working, I think Shane Baz is basically unhittable. But if you guys are watching live, make sure you leave a comment. We'll get to them as we always do. And let me guys know what you guys thought of Shane Baz's performances. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the one thing I the one thing I thought about Shane Baz's performance today, he was incredibly efficient in this one. So he only allowed, in the second inning, he got into trouble, right? And the Rays caught a break. It was a single with a runner in scoring position. The Blue Jays didn't score. It was bases loaded. They get out of it. And then he didn't allow 2 base runners in an inning the rest of his outing. He didn't allow kind of guys to get to third base and make it these high leverage threats, is because he had the 3 walks, but he was very, very efficient. You kind of go through the Blue Jays play here. So obviously in the first, they went down 1, 2, 3. In the second inning, we talked about he went into trouble. And then the biggest thing for me was why in that second inning was such a big deal is because I'm so big on the shutdown inning after you score. So the Rays score, and they need that shutdown inning from Baz. So he ended up barely getting it by the skin of his teeth. Top of the third, 3 up, 3 down. Top of the fourth, he got Santander hit a single with 2 outs, and then boom, another guy out. Again, another low risk inning. And then top of the fifth, a walk, and then boom, immediately erased by a double play. So outside of that second inning, he really did not have any substantial threats on the base pass. And then, when it went to the bullpen, it was just a clinic from there. And we will talk about the bullpen and how good they were and what the Rays need to do to get a sweep right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances and major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You guys know I love the same-game parlays. I love the player props because you get to pick what you guys want. So again, the Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow. The Knicks are coming down. If you think Brunson's go for 30 points and you think Josh Hart's going to get 10 rebounds, you can parlay that together. And even better, if you're new to FanDuel, you can go to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel. And it's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So again, if you guys are joining live, make sure to leave a comment and we will get to them at the end of the video. But let's talk about the bullpen, because the bullpen, even though the Rays won, and the encouraging thing about yesterday is I told you guys the Rays should have won probably 8-1. They had, the bullpen allowed, I think it was 8 walks in total by the pitching staff. And today the bullpen only allowed 1 walk, and it was Pete Fairbanks in the 9th inning. So you look at the lines. Clevenger, 1 1/3. The 2 hits, but he got one of the key double plays in the 7th. Manny Rodriguez, who has just been money lately, only 9 pitches to get through the inning. Obviously, Pete, he walked 2 guys. I forgot the second walk because, it was kind of the run on second, but he ended up getting out of it. So, from going 6 walks to 2 walks is just a massive step in the right direction. So, another thing that's kind of take a step back, the Rays were struggling mightily at home, the last month. And now all of a sudden, you look up and the Rays are a game below 500. They're tied with the Blue Jays. They're a game back from Boston. Obviously the Yankees are playing the Rockies right now. They got bailed out with a loss yesterday. But, you kind of start to see the path to, it's a long season. And we talked about previously, can the Rays go on a run? Could this be the Rays run? They've won 4 in a row. Can this be the stress that they needed to do what they need to do? It very well could be. And it's huge with that bullpen. And that bullpen is where we get to our turning point of this game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So the top of the 9th inning, 2 on, 2 outs. And it was kind of the first time the Blue Jays have gotten in, a scoring threat. Another turning point could have been a double play in the 7th inning, which is also huge. But Pete getting able to get out of that, saves in back-to-back games, up to 10 saves on the year. That was the turning point in this game. And this game, which didn't have a lot of high drama, right? Kind of a low-key game for a lot of the game. The Rays offense really went cold. That's why it's so important why they got on Barrios early. Scored first again. I'm pretty sure the Rays record now, you guys can check me on this, is 14-6 when they score first. I mean, that's just a great number. And we talked about the Rays comeback wins against the Astros in that series. And now whatever you look at it, if the Rays lose tomorrow, they're 2 series wins up in this homestand. In a series where in a homestand where I said, 6-4 is a huge step in the right direction. They're already halfway there, and they still have 4 games to play. So they go 500 in these next 4 games. The Rays are well on their way to take advantage of these home games. So again, just fantastic, game by the Rays. They're winning the Rays way. Now they're occasionally getting that big fly, but the last few games, they got back to their roots. They're winning with pitching and defense. And of course, another 3-1 win. That's all that you can, ask for a Rays fan is the Rays are winning their way. They got back to playing Rays baseball. And don't look now. All of a sudden, you could be at the All-Star break, and the Rays, with all their guys out, didn't just start treading water. They now put their head above the water, and now with their guys back, all of a sudden, boom, they're in a playoff spot. Boom, they can contend for the AL East. And with the Rays, I mean, it's incredible how much Josh Lowe has lengthened this lineup. Like, you look today, you have Aranda hitting 5th, right? You went Diaz, Lowe, Lau, Cami, Aranda, Caballero. Like, that is a strong top 6. And then, Ha-Seong Kim just reported the Durham. Jake Magnum is almost ready to come back from Durham. Like, this lineup is going to be legit really, really soon. So, if you guys are watching a replay, leave a like and comment. If you guys are in the live right now, leave a like. And if you're new, make sure to subscribe. We're going to get to the comments right after we look ahead to the next game. But if you guys are in here, make sure you leave a comment. We will read it as we get to the end of this live. So tomorrow, 1:40 game is going to be Ryan Pepio, who's been really good recently. His ERA is now under 4, 3.99. He's given up 3 runs or fewer his last 5 outings. So he's been really good as of late. We need one more good start of him to get, obviously, the big sweep against a big-time divisional rival in the Blue Jays. So, again, now the Rays are 5-1 against Toronto in the year. That's really good. They go against Chris Bassett, who pitched against the Rays and did really well. He's 4-2 with a 2.5 ERA. Again, he gave up 1 run against the Rays, and that 1 run kind of held still until Pepio, kind of had the one mistake in that Blue Jays game, a 3-run home run to Kirk. So, again, it's a rematch of the only time that the Blue Jays have beat the Rays this year. So we'll see if the Rays backs make an adjustment because, again, they haven't been world beaters by any sense of imagination, but they've been doing just enough. So let's see if they can capitalize on the momentum that they have and put together another complete game. So obviously, whenever it's a righty, it heavily favors the Rays. But let's see, again, if the Rays can really get it going. As we go to Jack's takes, because now that's getting it done, the Rays win. Another series, another junior homer in Steinbrenner. Another series win. Either they're figuring out or the humidity in the wind are finally just friendly. A little both. I think a little both. Watching the game, I didn't think there was like crazy Blue Jays hits that were like, oh, the wind really got to that one. The Rays had a few. It evens out throughout the game, right? So, yeah, it was it was kind of big. Again, any way the Rays can get it, at the end of the day, the two teams are playing the same ballpark. So, however the winds are flowing, both teams have to deal with it. As we go to Dante Hamilton, he says, I'm digging the back-to-back Lowe and Lau in the lineup. I agree, man. They've really started to put together. I think that's going to stay there for the foreseeable future. As Argina says, Rays win. This is what I was talking about. Gary kind of alerted this. He said we go back to our guy. Gary says, tied with the Jays. Red Sox losing their second game to the Orioles. Let me now check. That game should be final. And the Orioles did win the second game of the doubleheader 2-1. So, yeah, and all of a sudden the Rays could be second place on the weekend. They very much could. And it was big, guys. We really talked about the Rays needing to – are they going to make a run? Will they win kind of that 6-7 games in a row? Where this is the second time while we've been doing this postcast where they've won 4 in a row. But, again, it's more I look at it. Can they win 9 of 11? Can they win 13 of 16? And this is a really just big way of doing it. As Jose Rodriguez says, Rays win. As I Love Lego says, it's a nail biter. We made it through. We sure did. The Rays never, ever make it easy. Gary also references the Evan Klosky tweet about how Junior was given a reset. And that's something I acknowledged yesterday as well. But obviously, Evan is the best in the business. So we go back to Augustin. Feels like the Rays' lucky charm must still be in town. And, I guess Augustin, who is rumored to be, a very good runner, is obviously a mediocre runner, is in town. So, yeah, you got to stay in town until they lose again. So that's all I got from that comment. You got to be their good luck charm. As we go to I Love Legos, he said Boz was a lot better this time he was. As we go to Gary, and this is a good point. When Boz stuff is going, he's a dark horse Cy Young. I agree with that, like I said, and you guys didn't really agree with me. I said, which is fine. I love having the discourse. I think that when his stuff is going, Shane Boz has the best stuff outside of McClanahan on this pitching staff. We go to Mike H. It was a great diving catch by Meisner. I was going to agree. I was going to reference that because there are a few points in a tight game like this where the Rays need to come out and kind of stranglehold this game. And Meisner's been playing a great center field. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do when Magnum comes back. And we go to Mike again. How about the play when Bo went deep in the hole and made a throw of that? Yeah, that was great. Bo, I'm pretty sure that was on Yandy, right, where Vladdy made the splits and made the catch. Yeah, Bo is a local product. He's a great player. So I believe Bichette had another offer, and he's hitting the ball really freaking hard. So the Rays have now held Bo Bichette, who's been a 2-time hit leader in the AL, to 0 for his last 8 against the Rays. So again, we got to look at this from an outside point of view, like a very outside point of view. The Rays lost a series to the Marlins not even a week ago tomorrow, and now they've responded in such a big way. So this team is playing for each other, and now they are playing to, that was a big point in the season to me. It's like we have a tough homestand. They haven't played well at home. We've documented on here how tough the Rays schedule is coming up, and they've answered the bell, man. I'm just super proud of this team to be able to do that after a really tough game because, guys, we've talked about the Rays schedule. Like, it is not a cakewalk. And one of the comments, I think, was I Love Legos, said, big road trip coming up. Yeah, look, you go to Minnesota, who just won like 13 in a row after Toronto, or Minnesota comes here to end the homestand. And then, you go to Houston for 4, who just won a series against, which they're really good. You go to Texas for 3, who you never beat. You play against Miami for 3, which should be a winning series, but you just lost to them. Then you go to Boston, who just lost Bregman, so it'll be interesting on that side, but still tough. To the Mets, which again, super tough. Then versus Baltimore for 4. Of course, Baltimore probably found a way to figure out by then. Versus Detroit, at Kansas City, at Baltimore, both Oakland, at Minnesota, at Detroit, at Boston. So this stretch not get easier. There is kind of a stretch where the Rays need to stack these wins at home and then start to tread water on the road because of their big start on the road. So it doesn't get into the win streak for the Rays. It's great that the Rays won 4 in a row. It is, I love it, but can the Rays win 13-16? That's more the number I'm looking at to see if the Rays can, again, not only tread water to Hyson King, Shane McClanahan, Magnum, DeLuca, name them down the list, come back, but kind of can break through that wall and really start to contend in the AL East and the wild card. So I know it's early and we did this yesterday and it's tough to look at, the standings and stuff, but the Rays are 6 back in the AL East, which is whatever. But if you go to the wild card, the Rays are 2 back in the wild card, guys. And it's dumb to look at the standings before Memorial Day, but man, was how crazy this season is. They're right there. The goal of them when the season starts is to make the playoffs, and the Rays are built for the playoffs with their pitching, their defense, and their situational hitting. So even though the Rays have been really, really bad in the playoffs the last few years, we're not going to forget that. So we go to Mike. He says it's kind of all it got started when Cash got ejected. So yeah, so it's always tough to see the manager's impact on a team. So yeah, you can put a pinch hitter up there. You can bring a guy in for the bullpen there. So yeah, but what can the Rays do to motivate the team? Like Joe Madden was like a master motivator. You guys remember the stories? Like he would bring in a snake to the clubhouse during a losing streak. Just the different things that he would do to prompt that up. And then Kevin Cash, he never does. He never goes and gets hot. Never kind of goes after an ump, and it kind of ignited the team. So yeah, it has kind of started when Cash got ejected, but it's a credit to Kevin Cash, and he knows what buttons to push to get the best out of his team. That's what I love Legos again. The question is, can the Rays pass the test against the Twins? Yeah, look, the Twins, it's documented how good the Twins have been recently. Obviously, they won on that stretch. And then so they won all those games in a row, and then they lost, and then they've won 3 of their last 4, and they won their first 2 games in Kansas City. So, the Rays get Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez in 2 of those games. So both of the Twins' best pitchers. But that will be a conversation after Monday. For now, we will enjoy the Rays winning their 4th straight game. So again, I appreciate everyone that joined live. We had a super big audience in here tonight. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys are watching the replay, like and comment and join us live. Early game tomorrow will be live probably around 4:15, 4:30. So again, if you guys join the live, I very much appreciate you. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys tomorrow night.